Issue 152. We start out with an overly long text box saying that despite all the destruction Robotnik did for the past 11 years since seizing control of Mobotropolis, a lot of the environment remains untouched. I hate the text box because it goes on for an eternity describing exactly how long it's been when I don't really care. After we see Lupe walking through some grass, Eggman wastes precious comic space complaining like a generic villain, making me really wonder why Eggman's found so entertaining. He leaves Adam alone complaining about having to eat in an organic body, and you know, that's really weird because you'd think a fat hedonist like Eggman would have really missed being able to eat. Like he ate that giant sub in Unleashed. Then Adam goes over his options. He says to himself that the pod chamber's drawback is that it's too early for interface with anyone beyond their immediate environment. Therefore, he decides to release the nanotechnology and allow it to increase exponentially in an unrestricted environment. He doesn't have much common sense if he thinks there's no way that could go wrong. We see the wolf pack with Lupe wondering what could have made that metallic noise, saying that they haven't come across anyone in the past several hours, so she can't imagine what could be making it. And she's told that it could just be the birds chirping. How could they possibly think the sound was anything other than coming from a robot? It's a clack sound. Lupe says that birds and bees can't make relentless noise like that, and tells everyone to run as they all start to panic. We cut away to Sonic with narration saying that Sonic's just learned something's up and finds everyone gathered in a special bunker below Knothole, asking if he missed anything while Rotor's making a speech into a microphone. Rotor, with camera footage of something behind him, says that the only thing Sonic missed is his explanation of how they're receiving the video feed. What they're looking at is happening as they speak. Sally then coldly says in the future when a meeting is called, it's not conducted on Sonic time. Sonic looks hurt and wonders if that was aimed at him or his evil double from earlier. Rotor explains the technology is terraforming the natural environment into a sprawling artificial environment. Locked satellite transmission for them shows this thing originated in Megalopolis and is spreading rapidly in every direction. It might reach Knothole in 24 hours. The entire surface of Mobius might be covered in under a week. Then we see the Freedom Fighters with Fiona sitting beside Sonic and UFOs outside that I guess the Dark Legion left to them. That was nice of them. Amy says that she doesn't get how the teens were chosen because Uncle Chuck should lead the charge. Sonic replies that as much as he respects his uncle, speed could be the key on this round. This naturally has Fiona looking at him annoyed while hideously drawn because he's flying a UFO. His super speed has nothing to do with how fast it's flying. Mina cheerfully calls him a chauvinistic oinker, which came out of nowhere. Also, is she just inexplicably part of the Freedom Fighters now? I thought she quit after one mission to become a singer. If she's going to join, they shouldn't be so sudden about it. Meanwhile, Chuck says this is a good spot to set up stations before the first team would reach the intercept point. Amy says she is getting goosebumps from what she's seeing, and Fiona, staring through binoculars, shows her intelligence by saying, fascinating. From what I can tell, matter is being manufactured literally out of thin air. From molecules being changed to different elements, I suppose. I like that she has the intellectual side, as useless as it is. Sonic talks as if something coming from nothing is impossible when he should be used to magic by now, and someone talks about how they're about to do it and goes in. Amy says that she's scared for once because the thing in front of them is bigger than anything they've ever faced, and asks why the others didn't come with them. You can't just put all your eggs in one basket. After a friendship moment involving Fiona where they put their hands together and say let's party, Sonic goes down a rope and tells Rotor through the walkie-talkie with his friends behind him that it's like trying to sneak into an empty Robotropolis. After he tells them to split up without even a text box saying that some time has passed, Sonic asks her if there's anything to report. Amy wonders why Sonic hasn't asked her out since their kiss. He still hasn't told her about Scourge showing up? Fiona then says that she's picking up an unusual humming sound. Sonic then thinks out of nowhere that the mission's tough enough without being saddled with all of the girls. They really wanted Mina to be proven right about Sonic being a chauvinist. Some black hands surrounded by a green goop approach Bunny and grabs her arm, and the signal blips out. Sonic tries to find her unsuccessfully and tells Rotor that he just found a section that would give his lab a run for the money. Isn't it run for its money? I'm so bored. Rotor asks him if there's any terminals they could tap into and something they could access a database with. Then he says they're breaking up and can't hear him, and Sonic finally notices Snively, who's de-roboticized all of a sudden when he was roboticized the last time I saw him. Is anything remotely interesting going to happen? Bunny panics at potentially being forced to become joined with the computer, and Sonic attacks Snively, who says that all this is happening because of self-replicating nanobots, which he wants to stop before they become the dominant life form on the planet. When Sonic lampshades why Eggman made something that would end up greatly inconveniencing him, Snively explains that when he was trying to recreate Metal Sonic, he found these things. He just found them? That's lazy. Also, didn't he mention that he made them, saying the freedom fighters were adapting his technology? Adam's taking control of the nanites, expanding his father's territory. Fiona furiously shouts at him that Robotnik should get some other goals in life. Naturally, since she was forced to work in a jewel camp for a while and then imprisoned for 2 years by Robotnik, even if it's not the same one. So it makes sense that she'd always have a fiery grudge against Eggman. And explains that she found the EMP detonators that Snively's been setting. It's Fiona who has to explain to Sonic what EMP stands for, explaining that these surges can render anything electronic useless, while being somehow harmless to any living being. Again, showing an intellectual side. Did Rotor teach her that? Snively yells that he was programming the timer so the detonators would go off simultaneously before Sonic stopped him, and now that Sonic stopped him, the only alternative is to set off the detonators at the 3 flashpoints manually. For some reason, both Amy and Fiona show a complete lack of faith in Sonic's ability, even though with his speed, he might as well be able to be in 3 places at once. Well, let's just forget that then. Mina tells them they can take care of the detonators while Sonic saves Bunny. With Mina understanding that as well, Fiona explains that when the MP will go off, Bunny's robotic limbs will be affected, and there's no telling what will happen to the rest after that. Snively explains that while the girls get in position to trigger the detonators, he'll be manning the master generator here to ensure that the maximum surge will be provided. Uncle Chuck then tells Sonic over the radio where to go to find Bunny, because he knows where he should go for some reason. Snively shows the girls where the detonators are. There's 3 detonators and 3 girls. Good thing Fiona's there. Amy asks how they get out to the 2 furthest detonators when she's nowhere near as fast as Sonic, and Mina says while holding acorns in her cheeks that she is fast enough and will carry Fiona to where she needs to go. After Amy briefly stays behind because she's so distrustful of the unlikable Snively, Snively's honest with her that he's only helping to get revenge on Adam. Fiona tells Sonic over transmission that she's now at the 2nd flashpoint and tells him where to go next. So is that necessary? With Bunny appearing to have one eye looking like a cyborg, or maybe it's close in just the lighting, Sonic is told what's happening to her, gets enraged because of what Adam's trying to do with her in the forest, and Chuck then gives Sonic an unclear explanation about how Adam only understands logic but can't comprehend mixing the two. The two what? Sonic is told by Adam in response to his question that organic tissue isn't adaptable, nor does it serve any purpose to his plan. Sonic then points out that Bunny is half organic. For some reason, he's all polite, correcting himself after calling them robotic limbs in front of her, and his reasoning makes Adam stop all activity, making Bunny herself again. After Bunny gives Sonic a kiss for being her hero, she says Adam probably went back to the motherboard as I start to wonder why he gave himself that weird green form. And Amy tells Sonic that an opening to the daylight just opened up above her. Mina says the same thing happened to her, only it provided a ladder. Chuck on the UFO says if they go inside they may find out. Sonic asks them what do they expect a robot to tell them, and Rotor corrects them that they're not robots, they're nanites. As if that makes a difference. They're still robots. A text box explains that because the nanites are capable of independent thought even without Adam's input, chances are those who were caught in their past didn't suffer any serious harm either. What gives him that idea? If that's the case, then only Adam helped them, and the rest of the nanites wouldn't want to, because they have independent thought. Fiona complains that with all the nanites around, it'll be decades before the ecological balance will be restored. Why would she care about that? She then figures out that the nanites had no idea of coexistence until they encountered Bunny. But Bunny says, I guess being unique does have its advantages. She's talking as if this is the first time she ever appreciated being a cyborg, when she was thrilled and enjoying her super strength from the minute she became one. Amy then says that she's glad they never had to resort to Snively's option. So Fiona didn't get to be useful because none of them got to activate any detonators. Most of the people here didn't do a thing. The story ends with Snively explaining with a fake nervous smile that if they examine the sample Rotor took, they can see activity going on despite the dormancy, and if they can establish a link, they may provide the answer to bringing down Eggman once and for all. A link with what? For some reason, Chuck tells him that there might be hope for him yet, instead of assuming that Snively just wants to take Eggman's place like he tried to do the last times the world was left without a Robotnik. And he asks them if they trust him fully, with Tails naturally not doing so. Finally, the issue's over! God, that was boring! I don't know why, it was just so boring. Nothing really happened in it. There was an excellent source of tension with Bunny's situation, But I have to wonder why it was taking so long to make her get absorbed. Like, why didn't you get absorbed already? The nanites taking over thing would have been much more interesting if we actually saw them in the process of spreading and taking over the landscape. And apparently Eggman just found them. And I hate how Fiona never got to do anything, because the detonators weren't used. And Sonic being a chauvinist felt really forced and out of nowhere. It'd make more sense for Scourge. It's hard to explain why I hate this so much. I guess it was just too much talking and exposition. Characters were saying their plans, saying what they're going to do, saying stuff over and over, not actually doing anything. The story was by Ken Penders and just excruciatingly boring.